Welcome back inside the FITAID Lounge to the Morning Chalk Up Show presented by FITAID. Tommy Marquez alongside Brittany Klein. I don't know about you, I am sweating after that event. It may be the heat, it may be the intensity of the Coliseum, finally getting to go in there for the first time. But man, these cuts are making it a crazy competition.
And we're just riding this emotional roller coaster today. We see highs and lows of photo finishes and then these cuts which are just devastating, some of our favorites in the sport.
We're going to talk a little bit more about those cuts as we progress along, but we're going to transition over now to the men's competition and take a look at your overall leaderboard after day number 2 in 5 events. And for the first time in the competition, someone other than Matt Fraser sits atop the leaderboard. But it's not by a lot. Noah Olson, 409 points, sits in first place, 2 points ahead of Matt Fraser. Behind him in third is Jacob Hepner, fourth Scott Panchik, and then we got another tight race with some points as we mixed up Adrian Moonviller, James Newbury. Will Moore had a couple of strong finishes to close the day, moves up into the top 10 as well. Looking at the top 2 here on the overall leaderboard, Noah and Matt. In that last event, we saw an awesome race between them.
And the vibe in the Coliseum was just electric, and you almost just expected Noah. We know that he goes out pretty fast on a lot of these events, and Matt Fraser just takes his time and eventually just comes home with the win. But Noah really paced it, and right to the very end there, he just looked cool, calm, and controlled. And it's almost like, well, after all these years in the sport, he's learned his lesson, he's grown up as an athlete, and he's ready to take the leader's jersey into day 3.
Yeah, and typically we see Noah kind of maybe come out a little too hot and fade, and it almost felt like the crowd kind of invigorated in there. Normally when you might see an athlete fade, the crowd kind of picked up because of how close a race it was between him and Fraser, and he really rode that wave of emotion. It does take a mature athlete to recognize that and capitalize on that as well. We mentioned the cuts just a few minutes ago. Some big names from the men's side aren't making it to day number 3 right now. Let's take a look at the notable men that were cut after day 2 of competition. Brent Fikowski, probably the most notable on your screen. The last 3 years at the CrossFit Games, he's finished 4th, 2nd, 4th, and now on his 4th trip to the CrossFit Games, he is going home after day number 2. Ben Smith, despite a really strong day number 1, almost kind of a Cinderella story, he fades to the back end of day number 2, and he won't be making the trip on to day 3. Jan Mikowski, Sean Sweeney, a couple of Games vets we thought could be inside the top 20, at least maybe try and make a push towards Sunday. Fortunately, they're outside the top 20 as well. I mean, really tough here. This is one of the kind of downsides of the cuts, is seeing some big names go home.
Yeah, and I'm really surprised with Brent Fikowski, but from day 1, he hasn't looked great. You know, that snatch event, I was saying he took a long time to recover, and we were in the Coliseum right next to his lane. He was breaking up the pull-ups into sets of 5 right from the beginning, and he just really looked like he was struggling to stay with the top of the pack, so maybe some lessons to learn here, take into next year. But it's just really disappointing as a fan to see some of your favorites who aren't coming into moving day. It's just, yeah, I'm still undecided on whether for an entertainment value it's great, but to see some of your favorites in the sport not heading on is, yeah, it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's tough to see some athletes who have proven themselves year after year go home after just a few days and a handful of tests here and there. Moving over to the women's side of the house, we don't have the full leaderboard just yet, but we do have the results. I'm going to read them off to you here. Once again, Tia Toomey closes the day in first place overall. We have Amanda Barnhart in second overall at 330 points. Really continuing this strong performance from her. Krista Holta in third, Carrie Pierce in fourth, Jamie Green in fifth, and then once again, probably the story of the weekend right now, Danielle Brandon, the highest ranking rookie in 6th place overall, and she is definitely within earshot of a podium finish right now. Looking at the top 10, what really stands out?
Yeah, for me, it's Amanda Barnhart on day 2. In that first event, she really drove it home. And gymnastics, we've seen that a couple of times popping up on day 2, and that was a skill that she really struggled with. So she's obviously gone home after her rookie year, worked on that, and come back, and now she sits in 2nd place. Like you said as well, Danielle, she's a rookie who's really come to perform.
And just like on the men's side, we're going to have to talk about the women's cuts, and unfortunately, probably one of the favorite athletes across all the fans in sports is going home after day number 2. So we're going to take a look. I'm going to read off some of the names that are going home right now that just got cut as we narrowed things down to 20 athletes. Sarah Sigmundsdottir, a lot of people, including yourself, had her picked to potentially win. I trained with her last week. She looked probably the best that I've ever seen her, at least in training, and she looked like she was poised for a strong finish. She finishes in 25th overall. Danny Spiegel, the kind of sensational rookie from Sanctionals, finishes 22nd. She gets cut as well. Colleen Foch, another rookie. Meg Reardon in 23rd as well. Colleen Foch finishes 21st, just 6 points out from making the top 20. This is a tough one too, to watch Sarah go home after, you know, we thought we might see a better version, one that could contend for a title.
Yeah, and it's just, like I keep saying, it's heartbreaking. And one of the favorites in the sport to go out so early. We've chatted to Phil Mansfield, our coach, who's kind of been hanging around our booth a little bit. And, you know, we thought that she'd fix up the mental holes in her game, but maybe that was the ticker. She struggled in a few events on day one and, you know, just couldn't make it back on day two. And unfortunately it was part of the carnage of these brutal cuts.
And just a quick little follow-up here, because now we're seeing two potential podium athletes going home. They quite haven't looked like themselves. What's your initial thought on these cuts and kind of the point spread?
Yeah, we were talking about this before. For an entertainment value, it's fascinating, but it almost feels like right now, you said it earlier, a crime scene. You know, our favorite athletes no longer competing into the weekends. And when these were initially announced, I know a lot of fans were critical that a lot of these national champions were coming from all over the world, but we never expected people like Brent Fikowski, Sarah Sigmund's daughter, to not make it into the weekends. I know the Morning Chalk Up, we put up a few stories about when it was announced that they'd be refitted, and you never really thought that someone who had a podium finish so many years in a row. I guess it's hard as a spectator because you're torn. You know, it's adding to so much entertainment here on the grounds. Everyone's talking about, you know, those athletes who are just going to make the cusp and might help them perform better into events where they, you know, might be on the cusp and really making them hungry. But yeah, I'm still undecided. Yeah,
and it's this first year of this new system with these cuts and the points changes. So I think it's definitely going to be a transitional year. Some athletes kind of learning how to maybe game the system a little bit better. Hopefully people like Brent and Sarah can come back a little bit stronger, knowing what's in front of them, and we'll see a better version from them. We're going to talk a little bit more about some cuts with an athlete who unfortunately had to feel the brunt of that cut in just a moment. But we stand up here all day talking about fitness, but you know, we also sometimes walk the walk as well and do a little fitness ourselves. Last night, the Morning Chalk Up team, alongside the WIT team, had the opportunity to actually give our own version a test of individual event one after everything was said and done for day one of the competition.
Modified version of event one.
Yeah.
Got a big group of people here. We just got inspired by what you saw at CrossFit.com. So I said, hey man, Tommy, let's go get a bunch of people. Saw Logan, I was like, hey, let's get him in there. And we're gonna do a modified version of event one and just have fun with it. It's a CrossFit game, that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. In 3, 2, 1, go.
We wanted to do this because, hey, we're all working our butts off here at the CrossFit Games. We want to show that, like, at the CrossFit Games, you can take a test of the Games athlete, make it into a perfectly good workout for anybody here. We scaled it 5 different ways, you know, legless rope climbs, regular rope climbs, lighter snatches. We had an adaptive athlete here. We had athletes at all different fitness levels, and that's super cool. Just did a modified version of what the Games did here, showcasing what, you know, how scalable CrossFit is, and that's so fun.
Bro, it looked tough.
Oh yeah.
So,
oh man, I mean, I modified it heavy, and I'm super winded, man. I can't imagine doing that for the real deal.
Yeah.
And if you guys didn't know there, we actually did a team version of individual event one. Myself, Justin LaFranco actually teamed up to do it. Still barely beat Matt Fraser by like 10 seconds. We actually went lighter, so definitely a little perspective for us on how difficult that workout is. Joined now at the desk by 2019 Games athlete, Jason Carroll. Jason, thanks so much for joining me today.
Yeah, no problem.
So we're here to talk a little bit about cuts, unfortunately. You were cut today. But just kind of to start a little broad, what was your overall kind of feedback on this new system? What was it like being a Games athlete this year?
Well, for me personally, it was definitely different
just having the rookie experience in 2017, showing up to the games and being just wowed by everything, and then being able to be on the demo team in 2018, again getting the lay of the land and seeing how everything works again, and then showing up in 2019, just felt like, you know, I've been here, I belong here. Of course, was super excited, but wasn't so excited to where it was, you know, exhausting me, if you will. But yeah, definitely had some different stressors. One, none of us knowing the events ever going into them. We would literally get the events maybe 20, 30 minutes before we actually got our call times to go on. And then the cuts, just stressing you out. Just trying to figure out like the point spreads and how everything would work out throughout the week. And not knowing, you know, when it was going to happen and what kind of event it's going to do it to you, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And so you mentioned kind of maybe the stress of the cuts a little bit kind of hanging over your head. Do you feel like yourself or maybe other athletes had their performance adversely affected by the threat of the cuts kind of looming over them?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Just making mental errors on some of the events that I even thought that I was supposed to do well at was the huge difference, because in the middle of the event you're thinking like, that's it, that's right there, that's 10 to 15 places, I made that mental error and I'm going to pay for it big time.
And so you got to do 4 workouts.
Yep.
What was your kind of feedback? What were your thoughts on the workouts and the programming for at least the ones that you got to test?
I think the programming was awesome as far as trying to figure out who was the fittest and what the separation was going to be for the cuts. A lot of good modal domains were covered, but yeah. So
I mean,
me again. Just I participated in 4 events, right? The 2 events that I did well on were event 1 and event 4, and those were the ones that, like, you know, I thought I had to like somewhat have a game plan. On events 2 and 3, I expected, I'm like, oh, this is something I'm really good at, should do well. Those are the 2 events that I had big mental errors that cost me a lot of time in a lot of places.
And so, unfortunately, you're going home earlier than you'd hoped. But now, in your 2nd year at the CrossFit Games, like you said, having the experience of being a demo team member, an affiliate owner, what is the big takeaway for you that you're going to take now when you go back to California and kind of look forward to the next season?
Big takeaway would be just knowing how the programming actually unfolded this year. I got the vibe that it's going to be a lot more CrossFit, if you will, with couplets, triplets, different combinations, and then possibly lead into what we might see of like specialization, big lifting, you know, single modalities like swimming probably coming up on the Sunday, stuff like that. So just training more 4-time exercises rather than like AMRAPs, which is something I'm pretty good at. But
yeah, and so it may be a little early, but 2020 season is right around the corner. What we can expect from Jason Carroll next year? For me, hopefully do my thing in the open like I always do. I don't know if they're switching it as far as if you can actually qualify for the games through the open, but I did read that most of the qualifiers are trying to use the open for the sanctionals. Definitely going to be doing the West Coast Classic. Be gunning for that one. It's right in my hometown, Del Mar. It's a great time to be there. Right
Fun
in the backyard.
Place. But yeah, expect to see me in 2020.
Awesome.
Be ready to go.
Awesome. We'll be looking forward to it. We're going to get going in just a second. Jason, thanks so much for joining us today.
Absolutely.
I know you'll be hanging around a little bit.
Yeah.
You guys can probably hear the press conference behind me in the background, but we also got some really cool stuff going on tonight. We have the FITAID 1-ton challenge going on behind us. We're going to have some of the best lifters in the world throwing down, trying to max out their Olympic total, plus the clean and plus the jerk as well. So those will be split, add a little extra poundage, plus their powerlifting total. And it's going to be emceed by none other than the man himself, CT Fletcher. You guys want just a shot to the heart of adrenaline? Come listen to that guy talk. He'll always get you pumped up. Thank you guys for tuning in today. That's going to do it for our coverage here on day number 2 of the CrossFit Games. For Tommy Marquez, Brittany Klein, Justin LaFranco, and Jason Carroll joining me here at the desk. We'll see you guys tomorrow for day number 3.
Sweet.